Nothing says middle class like a six-figure vacation to the tropics. I'm Brian Lilly with the Rebel.media. Oh, Justin Trudeau proving once again that he is what he says he's all about, the middle class.
It's time to get real about the challenges facing the middle class and those working hard to join it.
How do we know that? Well, an order paper question release has come back, and it turns out we know at least part of the cost of Justin Trudeau's trip to the Bahamas. Remember, he went to the private island owned by the Aga Khan over New Year's. He put out a video saying there's no better place to be on New Year's Eve than in Canada, while he was on Bell Island, the Aga Khan's private domain. Well, he was down there and he took an awful lot of civil servants, and an awful lot of overtime and per diems was spent. There was also the cost of the flight. What did it all come to? $127,187.68 was the total cost, but don't worry, because Justin Trudeau repaid the taxpayers of Canada for a grand total of $4,895.64. Yeah, he says that would be the commercial equivalent of his trip down there. How do you end up paying $127,000 for a vacation where you just have to pay to get down there? You're not even paying for your time on the island. As far as I can tell, he used the Aga Khan's private helicopter to get to his luxury resort on the private island, so he didn't pay for accommodation. He didn't pay for the private helicopter to get there. How the heck do you get to $127,000? Well, let's break it down for you, and this comes from official government documents released to Parliament through the order paper question process. Of that, $32,000 was for the flight. On top of that, there was $1,720.37 for food, beverages, and associated fees. Now, all kinds of Trudeau defenders are out there saying, well, that's all the associated fees and security clearance and taxes. Well, if that was the case, then the government had a chance to say so when they were quizzed about this by Conservative MP Blaine Calkins in the House of Commons. But House Leader Bardish Chagger, she didn't say that at all.
Mr. Speaker, lots of Canadian families travel by plane on a special getaway once a year. On these flights, you can buy a sandwich, maybe a Diet Coke, and a bag of chips for a snack. It's not great, but it certainly is reasonable. And what's not reasonable, Mr. Speaker, is over $1,700 worth of food and drinks for a 3-hour flight between Canada and the Bahamas, which is how much the taxpayer was billed by the Prime Minister getting to his private island vacation. So my question is simple, Mr. Speaker. Just what in the world was the Prime Minister eating on that plane ride?
Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the work that we do in this place and for Canadians, we take very seriously. And as I have mentioned, and has been the case for previous Prime Ministers, for security reasons, RCMP have always accompanied Prime Ministers, whether on personal or business travel. One of the first things we did when we took office was to ask the clerk of the Privy Council office to develop guidelines surrounding the reimbursement of travel by sitting Prime Ministers, their families, and guests. Prior to our government taking office, no such guidelines existed. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
All right, so on top of $3,200 for the flight, $1,700 for food, beverages, and other fees, what else are the costs? Well, there was the cost of sending down Government of Canada officials from Global Affairs. They have to have the Global Affairs people there when the Prime Minister travels internationally. They're in charge of communications, the so-called diplomatic pouch. What did that cost us? Well, they gave us a rundown as well. $11,978.02 in transportation, $1,927.85 in accommodation, $1,267.25 in per diem. Accommodation. I thought they were all on the private island. More on that in a moment. The Privy Council office sent people down as well. They billed $2,263.53 in air transport, $1,349 in other transport, $626,049 for meals and incidentals, $1,604.82 in per diems, and $461.48 for other costs. Again, with the per diems and the accommodations and the meals, I thought everyone was on the private island. That's why we were told they had to be there. But wait, there's more. We haven't gotten to the $127,000 yet. Here's the big ticket item, of course, security for the Prime Minister, which I do not begrudge him or anybody else that holds that office. But the RCMP says their cost on top of usual costs for this trip, $71,988.87, and that breaks down to $18,735.48 for overtime and other such costs, and then $53,253.39 for travel, accommodation, and per diem. One of the reasons that we're told that Justin Trudeau had to have all these people with him is he has to have a working office with him at all times, that they have to be in constant contact, and yet we're paying for hotels, we're paying for meals, we're paying for per diems. I thought everyone was on the Aga Khan's private island. Now, I've asked the Privy Council office why this was happening. Were they all actually just back in Nassau, which is quite a distance away? They're not saying. Let's put it this way, folks. This is a government that says time and time again that they are all about the middle class and those working hard to join it. That is baloney. There's nothing further from the truth. You don't take a vacation like this and say you're about the middle class. Justin Trudeau is an entitled, elitist, spoiled brat. This proves it. I know that he can't take a regular vacation like everyone else, but previous prime ministers, be it Stephen Harper or Jean Chrétien, would not have done this. How you take your vacations, where you take your vacations, and how long are all factors you have to consider when you're the Prime Minister, because these extra costs must be borne by taxpayers. Stephen Harper took a trip to New York City. I think he took in a baseball game in Toronto. Most of the time he went back home to Calgary. Jean Chrétien would go to the lake. He would go water skiing. He didn't traipse around the world like this and bill it back to taxpayers. But Trudeau has. Trudeau does. Trudeau continues to do it. He was just down in New York for a play again. Sure, it got him some good publicity. Let's call that official business. But the rest? 10 vacations, 10 different trips between January 1st, 2016 and January 1st, 2017. This man only knows how to do one thing, and that's pick your pocket to spend it on his wants, his needs. When he tells you about the middle class, just remember how to tell a politician's lying. Their lips are moving. If you like the video you just watched, make sure you never miss a Rebel video again. Click here to subscribe.